Alright, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Big J Money here, and it's been a long time. Last time I was able to do a video on anything was like back in February, over 8 long months ago. So things have changed, and actually, as you can see, I am actually in a whole nother room. This is actually my I'm in a brand new apartment. I just moved in here a little over 2 months ago. I actually kind of need to clean up around the place. I was planning on doing that today, but I just felt lazy again. So I kind of want to say it's like, I'll just do it again. I'll just do it when I get home from work later tonight, which is a process. So I want to get into and a lot of things. So a lot of things is, I've pretty much have, I'll just say this, keep this brief and short. Um, what have I done since then? So far, I felt like I've had a control over my demons, personal, like, demons, certain of New Year's resolutions, keep with certain New Year's resolutions, and certain things. First of all, part about, like, drinking alcohol, haven't failed on that one. So far, we're coming up on the 10-month mark. By the time this comes out, we're already 10 months. I've not drank one real drop of alcohol. I'll say I've had like some of those non-alcoholic beers, but outside of that, I've not drank one like real drop of alcohol. Like no one like solid drop. So other than that, I feel fine. Only thing I will say is I've gained weight because significantly gained weight because one thing I did was, if anyone doesn't know, because right around that time frame, I was kind of done with living in that apartment, in that old apartment, which was small, roach infested, just a mess overall. Just overall, 100% a mess. I'm pretty much, I'm now where I live at now. It's cleaner. It's where I'm living at right now, where I'm recording. It's actually much cleaner. There's not dealing with roaches. Not dealing with any of that. None of that ever shit. So as the people who run these apartments, pretty much at least if you have an issue, they really get in and do what they need to do in a timely manner, unlike the last people. So that's one of the good things. In terms of like my job at UPS, right now I'm working at a new job. I'm still working at UPS. I'm just now working at so what I do is I pretty much and work at a call center where I deal with packages regarding like hazardous materials, and that so far has been experience so far. Okay, I would say that when I first came in, I was like looking at the hours at first. Like I worked because I work a coverage shift, so my primary hours was going to be from one what was it 1:30 p.m. to 12 midnight. So that was what when I first came in. It was like, okay, 1:30 p.m. to 12 midnight. But I work coverage in case like anyone went on vacation or whatever. I cover for their shit. They usually like schedule my shift will be like what their shift is for that day or number of days. It's like, okay, not too bad. So what happened was, so if anyone doesn't know, for a good chunk of my job, I worked overnight. When I started out as a package handler, when I started out working under, when I worked in, what was it, telecoding to my job, I usually worked from like early to late evenings, overnights till early mornings. So when I first got into the new job with being working with this hazmat center, it was to I was working from 1:30 to 12 midnight. Isn't It was kind of like similar to almost right around where I worked when I worked in customs brokerage. It was like from 6 p.m. to midnight. Now I'm working a full-time job. This is around the same time frame. I get out a good decent time. I can go home. At the time it was like 10 hours. Work 4 days a week. Not too bad. Not too bad. I can occasionally work on weekends. Probably work a couple holidays. Not too bad. So what happened next was on Monday. So what happened next was on, I think the first week I started taking live calls. That's when they told me like I was working from 8:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. Because one of the people who worked overnight pretty much decided to put their 2 weeks in and decided to put their 2 weeks in. So I was like, okay. And they said this was pretty much a position that I would cover until they found like replacements. So I was thinking this is something that was going to take like a month, maybe 6 weeks. So 1 month passes, 2 months pass, like new people been hired, take spots, new people gotten hired, been trained, are going into the center, taking live calls now, So at first I thought this was, so many people were pretty much being replacements for these things. I ain't saying anything about it. I'm like thinking, okay, eventually I'm working this. So something that was, in my part, at the most was going to be like take 6 weeks. Eventually turned into like 3, pretty much so far, like 3-4 months so far. And I'm just like, what is going on? I'm just like, at this point, it started getting a little monotonous now at that point in time, because especially around that time when I lived in the old apartment, pretty much how it was, I took the bus from, because after work, I pretty much took the bus to and from work. So, I understand. So, when I got off at 7, usually there's a bus, like, one bus that comes in at 7:10, but I pretty much from my desk to, like, the security gate, it's like, I'm pretty much missing that, like, 7:10 bus. So, I had to wait, like, 30 minutes till 7:40. So, like, 7:40, get on that bus, take that bus all the way down to First and Hill, Broken Burnett Street, and then get off that bus, and then walk practically a mile from that house, all the way down to my old apartment. And that was a mile. I had to walk a mile to the bus and walk a mile back home. So and did that correctly. Had to do that for constant times. Then there was like of course my shift changes, times change. There were certain times where I worked like I think 5 in the afternoon, 5 in the evening, or 6 in the evening, 5, 6 in the evening, and I wouldn't get off until like 7. Now, part of that's my fault. I should have like said like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but I live like an hour. I live kind of far, so this kind of time is kind of unusual. Because by the time I literally got back in my home, it was either after 8 o'clock or after 8:30 or something. Because usually right after I get off the bus. Because right by me, I lived near Burger Boy down Brooks and Burnett Street. So I pretty much either once I got off the bus, immediately either just went in, grabbed something, ordered some food, and ride back home or B, eat it there and then walk back home. That was usually how. So by the time I walked back home, I was like, it was like 8:30, 9 o'clock. So plus trying to, it was hard to like get a good night's sleep in bed. I probably had roaches on there, either in the bed or on the bed, or like it was. That was an experience for months on end, and I was like, so over time. Now, how did I keep up with it? Hardly, because I pretty much kept showing up late. Showed up late a good amount of times. There were certain times I just, instead of taking like usually photography bus, I usually just Uber my way to work, and sometimes after work, because I just pretty much wanted to get home and go to sleep as soon as possible. Get home and get to sleep as soon as possible, and that was pretty much a good chunk of that, and that's what I dealt with until I moved, and right up until I moved. So, right up until I moved, and that was practically what I had to deal with for a good while. The main issue so anything I will say is that the job does put you in a fair amount of stress. Because at that point I'm like hardly dealing with like a good amount of sleep. Feel like I had a lot of stuff piled up in mine. I'm like trying to at least do stuff. I'm trying to at least, I don't know. There was like a lot of things that made me just stress me out. I kind of ended up having like a good amount of stress. It culminated right around September. Cause like, and that was a bunch of things. Like I was showing up late a good amount of times, and I know how many more times I kept showing up late to work a lot, and I think one day I ended up having this one hard stress-filled point where I was like, I ended up having like my own like personal anxiety attack. I am having like a bit of anxiety attack, but I kind of brought it on myself a bit because I kind of had like those like Starbucks like double shot cans, like two in like a few hours, within a few hours span, and then had like some donuts and like fudge brownie M&Ms. Yeah, and it was not like it was one of those regular size bags. It was like one of those king size ones. So yeah, I had a combination of like a lot of sugar, a lot of caffeine. And I feel like, and I think personally at that point I'm like burnt out from my job. It just, I ended up having this anxiety attack which just hit me, and a bit of an anxiety attack, and pretty much a lot at that point I felt really fucking miserable at that point in time. Like a certain point of me just practically like at this point just felt like I didn't want to come into work. I didn't want to do this job anymore, and it just. But yeah, that was like what was frustrating. I just didn't want to show up to work, honestly, at that point in time. But I kept coming back because I realized because right now I don't have no real like contingency plan. No like real like thing where I'm like, I don't need to do this job. I'm not I don't know. I don't have like that. I don't have an ability to like say, hey, I'm putting in my 2 weeks right here, and just like I can't do this. So took until like I think I showed up late that time, and I think one or two more times after I practically. And then that was like a whole ass meeting, and I'm just like at that point, and I was just still in this mental funk, bad mental funk, and pretty much I was like, I just told my supervisor like, look, I can't deal with this position, like this coverage position, actually working this late at night and all this stuff. Like I got like literally at this time, 3-4 months ago, like when I first came into working at UPS, I pretty much started working those after. I was planning just came in to work afternoons. I wasn't planning on doing overnight shifts. I just left positions. I pretty much did not work an overnight shift, but now we're back. Right, not even like 1 week after I started taking live calls, you're putting me immediately back in this position. And right now, it's like I'm having a hard time, like, because literally I had a hard time sleeping because it's hard to sleep at like you leave right before the sun come up, right around the time the sun's starting to come up, and you pretty much coming back trying to sleep a good chunk of that time, try to sleep a good amount, and the sun, and right at the time you start finding a way to get to sleep or something, but you realize I got daily responsibilities I gotta do, and basically a lot of things, and I didn't tell them anything, but they were like, realized I was like, but I just told them like, look, I'm under a fair amount of stress here, like, I feel like the hours you're giving me, like, feels like I worked this overnight shift so much, I'm like, literally, like, I don't know if you have found a replacement, which so far that position is still open, surprisingly. I know some people are like, I'm just gonna say, that job was kind of around that time frame. You were working pretty much an easy one because all you gotta do is handle pretty much acceptance order calls 99% of the time. You'll get 1 or 2 rare customer calls, but outside of that, you're mostly dealing with like acceptance order calls at that point in time. At that point, you're not at acceptance order calls at that point. At that point, you're not dealing with any like disgruntled customers because the majority of them probably aren't gonna call at that point at night. At that point at night, some of them, even though we're actually open 24 hours. We're mostly dealing with calls from acceptance orders, calls from load planners who are trying to like do with some type of flight call or something that has to do with, or certain, in my case, which is probably going to be a very rare one, is dealing with like special permit calls where it's like, where it involves like pretty much the inspection of like a trailer, if a manned trailer, or some type of accident happens with one of our trucks, or something or some type of incident. So that's usually those calls happen, and usually it's those types of calls. But that's just my personal advice on that. But in terms of like, at that point, I felt like I'm practically just spending time doing something. Because at that point, I'm pretty much, now like there were certain shifts, y'all scheduled me which I ain't gonna lie, you pretty much wanted me to turn around, wanted me to come in with very short turnaround. Like, I felt like I was, like, honestly, at that point, I'm like, I mean, personally, at that point, I should have just spoke up and just told him, like, why these weird times? Like, some of these times you're wanting me to come in don't make any sense whatsoever. That's personally my opinion. Like, in my opinion, I should have spoke up about it, like, especially considering the fact that these were times that they gave me, and I could have just asked some questions or changed some things, but I'm like, but at that point, I'm like, I was trying to move out of that apartment. I need the extra money for that overtime payment, which, let me just be real, that is a fair chunk of money which I'm willing to take. Now, pretty much now I kind of want some of that extra money so I can pay off more of my credit card bills and debts because not a ton, but yeah, it just got to like a very, very, very difficult time where it just felt. So that was a difficult portion. So eventually I pretty much told him like this. Later than I should have, but I should have told him like probably for that first day. I think I told him like during that time frame, like, look, I just want to at least, like, eventually I did tell him, like, look, I'm pretty much done. I can't quit. I don't have options to, like, quit my job. Like, but there is a point, like, I am trying to at least show up on time, at least, like, I gotta show up on time. Luckily enough, I've already used up all my vacation time now, so from this point on, I'm like, I gotta walk in and basically come in every time they tell me. Especially tonight, I gotta come in tonight, 8:30 tonight. Well, luckily enough, these 2 nights I'm pretty much covering for somebody, and I'm off Wednesday. Then I'm off Wednesday. Then I come back in on like I think my regular time, which is on Thursday and Friday. So yeah, that was pretty much my job. So pretty much my experience. One of my thoughts on a lot of things so far in terms of like dealing with like my own personal stuff, in terms of like my own bills and such. I'm not crazy. About, I say, the job itself. On certain occasions, if you work like the overnight shift, which I'm about to work tonight, it's fairly easy because you don't deal with like a lot of. You're not dealing with disgruntled customers. You're dealing with mostly $7 calls. I'd say around the afternoon time, hours I work normally, which is, I mean, first half is mostly customer calls and siren call, and then certain customers either it's kind of like easy, others just somehow, some way find it, somehow make it frustratingly difficult at times, and it's like, I get it, you called me to figure out what's going on, but there's certain points of this where I'm like, you complain or whatever is not helping whatsoever. So it's like certain points I'm like, listen, like, if we have a technology where we can create holograms or whatever, like if I have the technology to like beam to your location, I personally would smack it. I'm like, you're gonna have to see me with some of the attitude some of y'all have, Gary, especially some of y'all are bold, talking mad smack to people who work in these customer service jobs. in my opinion. And I'm gonna say this is my opinion. A lot of y'all are disrespectful, too disrespectful. So, like, to me, it's like, at that point, I would have just, some points, I would have just, because I actually will say this. One thing is that I'm someone who is on the autism spectrum, and one thing I will say is that I realize I have a lot more, like, emotional discipline. Because someone on the autism spectrum, one common sign of someone who is on the spectrum is amplified emotions. Because there are times where I've had certain calls where it feels like if I make one small minor mistake, a lot of people I would just hang this over my head like crazy. Because there's been certain days I was ready to quit right then and there. Right then and there. Like, there were certain days I pretty much just wanted to either just hang up and just log off the phone, turn in my bed and just say, I'm done. Like, and just say, I'm out of here. I'm like, you know what? I'm out of here. Like, but there's certain parts like that. There's certain points I've wanted to snap on some calls. I'm not gonna say on certain callers, certain customers, because some of them I'm trying to explain to them something simple like 10, 15 times, and it's not getting through to them. So I'm like, I pretty much wanted to say some wild shit. Especially there's one manager at a UPS store in Wisconsin where I try to explain to them like 10 times that a pretty much a lithium battery marking has to have like these red hatch borders or whatnot, and then this guy was pretty much just like pretty much felt like I was talking like an idiot. Like, thought I was sound like an idiot or whatever, not knowing what I was talking about. I'm like, dude, like, this has been something that they said to us, like, from day one. We looked at all the labels possible. This is one of them that is true. I'm telling you, is what needs to be done with these things. And he's just pretty much feeling like like, there was one call, I think he said, like, something like, am I sure I dialed the right number? Like, this is Allison Sports Center. I'm like, literally, I'm like, you know, I'm just like, literally, like, had this moment for just like wanting to do one or two things. Either A, hang up on this guy and just say like, look, just, or B, I was literally about to, like, because I ain't gonna lie, this guy had like a thick, kind of had like a bit of a, because I think he sounded either Indian or Middle Eastern. I was literally this close of literally saying, like, listen, Latin, I'm this close of, like, I'm telling you this right now. I was ready to verbally eviscerate this guy, and I was about to literally get a little bit racist. I was like, because literally there was certain calls where I'm just like, you know what? F it. Like, go off on this guy, hang up, and it just pretty much beat Betty or whatever. I could have done that, but I've learned to have that emotional discipline. It's like, hey, bro. I'm like, I've had that moment. I'm like, listen, I cannot react the way I want to react right now because I need this job. I can't do this because I'm thinking of looking at the bills, looking at the debts I have. I'm looking at everything. I'm like, can't quit yet. Job's not finished. I'm like, even though I make the payments, small payments every week, to like a couple of them, I'm still looking at that. I'm like, job's not finished. I'm like, job not finished. Job finished? Like, so, yeah, man, it's a lot it's been a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure, and it's like, I mean, now it's starting to kind of get easier. Now, one thing it's good is like about how like peak season works. It's not as going to be as crazy. We might get a little uptick in terms of calls because of like for more in terms of calls, like maybe from customers, maybe from like UPS stores, but in terms of like the job for peak season, it might not be as crazy. So it's like, but who knows? But hey, who knows? Because right around that time frame, usually now I think one thing that was said was that a good amount of time they actually did like a blackout where because a lot of time people were trying to schedule a lot of their like vacations around I guess holidays, which I guess now they more recently like decided to black that out just to like make sure like no one gets off from that point on. Like so it's like it's peak, but it's not crazy like peak. It's not gonna be like some sort of like I'm going in there like with tons of work. So yeah, it seems like it's gonna be kind of easy right now. I just gotta show up to work on that more or less till like April, mid to late April, when I first got an occurrence. First got like occurrence on my record, and pretty much keep going until like September, where the last ones are gone. Which I'm not sure. Because personally, honestly, in my opinion, I kind of want to ask my supervisor, like, can you give me a copy of all my occurrences that I've had so far? So, because I want to look at it and just like all the occurrences, all the incidents that we've had. Because I want to look at this and I'm just like, I just want to have a copy, have that list. So that way when next year comes around, when I pass by that date, I'm just like crossing it off. Like it's just like even if I have points where I'm like I could just quit now, I'm just looking at it as like nope, still got this slate, or I got this step here, or this thing here, or that thing. I'm like, because I want to do is my goal is because right now one thing I'm sure is like I have gained like a ton of weight. So one thing is I pretty much, if anyone doesn't know, I pretty much been trying to lose weight since early 2019, like a little over 3 years ago, right around the point when my after my grandfather died. I pretty much said that February of that year, I just said, you know what, we're gonna try to drink more water. We're gonna try to get healthier, and I started on that journey. After like a year and a half, I lost some of that weight, lost a good chunk of weight. Then as people don't know, when I lived in an old apartment, and right as I started getting my new job with the new paychecks, getting more money that I usually make, let's just say I kind of, instead of like, eating in, which is kind of difficult because considering the fact I have tons of roaches in my freaking apartment. So like trying to at least have anything out at any point in time was damn near impossible. Now, it's damn near impossible. So what's an alternative? I had a lot. Got a lot of like pizza, Chinese food. I live by a Chinese food restaurant. Now I live by Qdoba's. I live like Qdoba restaurant, like Qdoba's, like Chipotle, and like all bunch of like just any type of like trash food. I pretty much ate that more often and everything since I worked overnight. We have like a break room where we kind of have like an open like thing, so we have like candy and like snacks and like basically a bunch of stuff. So I'm pretty much learning on trying to cut back from that. And I'm actually starting to do that because as of tomorrow is November 1st. So my plan is right now is going into tomorrow, starting tomorrow. I'm actually, because one thing is right now I probably gained a lot more weight. So one of the things I'm doing right now, starting at midnight, which I'm actually going to have to set that up right this second, because I have it in my head, is I'm going to go ahead, set this up for midnight. Set it up for midnight. Set it up for midnight, and then I'm going into that for the next 30. And then from that point forward for the next 32 hours, pretty much for 36 hours, I'm going to be fasting. I'm going to be doing a 36-hour fast. I'm pretty much going to be avoiding a lot of things. Water. One thing I'm also going to be doing is pretty much participating in that meme of like that meme month. Of course, we all know what it is. That triple N month, November, which personally I pretty much kind of trying to do because I pretty much need to like show more discipline in myself and everything. So I'm doing No Shave in November. That's why you see me having this clean face now. And I'm going to get a haircut soon. So, but I want to at least clean this off so I have it ready for November. I got a little on under my lip here, which I might need to I have some clippers. I'll just run for that real quick. But yeah, I have a lot of things I'm pretty much trying to do to at least close the year out on a good note. At least. And especially, I'll be turning 6 on this Sunday, which is on the 6th. My birthday is on November 6th, so I'm pretty much going to be 26. And I'm pretty much going to go into, at this point, now the second quarter of my life on a positive note. And let that carry that momentum to next year, because I have a lot of ideas for next year, especially in terms of this channel and then other things moving forward. First thing is, I'll just cut to that point right here. And right this second, just make this quick. I'm actually going to make 2 videos. This is pretty much my thing. I'll probably get into that for tomorrow's video. For next video tomorrow. And break that down a bit later. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to follow. At least be sure to leave a like to this video, share this with your friends. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so that way you don't miss any videos I make next. I'm planning on getting back more. I'm planning on getting back to track more this time frame. So I'm planning on getting back in track and get myself together. So hope you guys enjoy this video. And yeah, so Jason, guys. See y'all next time. Peace.